We're looking ahead at the 2023 edition of the Cricket World Cup, and there's now news coming in which has created a bit of a buzz, and that is to do with the West Indies. You could be looking at the first ever edition of the World Cup in which two-time champions, the winners of the first two editions in fact of the Cricket World Cup as far as the men's edition of it is concerned, there could be a scenario wherein the West Indies, the mighty West Indies, don't make it to the main event of the Cricket World Cup. But there is still a mathematical possibility, and it's not all doom and gloom for the West Indies just yet. They were handed a huge blow yesterday when they lost to host Zimbabwe. Remember, the ICC World Cup qualifiers are on. They're taking place in Zimbabwe, but the West Indies lost a crucial match against the Zimbabwe side. Now, what this means for West Indies essentially is, and we're going to try to break that down for you here, that their chances of making it to the World Cup main event have now suffered a huge blow. Why? Because in all likelihood, they will not be finishing as group toppers. They happen to be in Group A, and they happen to be alongside the Netherlands, Zimbabwe, Nepal and the USA. But we're here to tell you how it is that they can still make it to the main event of the Cricket World Cup, which will take place in India. Still, one thing has to be said, and that's the fact that things aren't entirely in control of the West Indies now. Had they won the match against Zimbabwe yesterday, then perhaps things would have been in their control to a great extent, but now things have gotten a bit tricky and it's not entirely in their hands. Now, this is what the points table looks like as far as Group A is concerned, and we're going to tell you how the qualification from this point on is going to now work. Now, at present, as things stand, Zimbabwe are the group leaders with 6 points. They've defeated both the Netherlands and the West Indies, who happen to be the second and the third place sides in Group A. Both of these sides, by the way, with 4 points each. Nepal with 2, the USA yet to open their account. So they're all but eliminated the United States of America. So their chances of making to the World Cup are nil now. Now, what happens for the West Indies? We're here to talk about how the West Indies can go ahead and make it to the group stage. Now, how the qualification is going to work as far as the qualifiers are concerned, the top 3 teams from both the sides will come, and you will then be looking at a scenario wherein there are 6 sides that will be they'll be coming together, and you're going to have another group that's going to be formed, or rather we're going to be calling it the Super Sixes. Now, top 3 sides will come together and be taking part in the Super Sixes. Interestingly though, and this is where all the fun lies, the fact that you will be carrying forward your points from the group stages is where the interesting bit is. Now, Zimbabwe, even though they're on 6 points at the moment, when they make it to the Super Sixes, they will have 4 points with them. Why 4? Why? That's because they have beaten both the Netherlands and the West Indies. So they have 4 points when they come into the Super Sixes. But for West Indies, at max, they will be coming in with 2 points. So while Zimbabwe, and let's just try to put that down for you here, if the West Indies are to go through, they will go through with 4 points. Zimbabwe, by the way, sorry. If West Indies go through to the Super Sixes, let's call it Super Sixes here, then they will have a maximum of 2 points, and that also will come if they beat the Netherlands. As far as the other group is concerned, Sri Lanka are almost guaranteed a top spot, so they're going to be coming into the Super Sixes with all 4 points, and we'll have to wait and see who the other 2 teams are going to be. Now, for West Indies though, why I say that it's going to be a scenario wherein things aren't going to be entirely in their hands, because they will now need favors from, let's say, Sri Lanka over here, because they will need Sri Lanka to drop points when it comes down to the Super Sixes. They will need Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe, by the way, to lose a game or 2, so that West Indies, with the 2 points that they have and the remaining 3 opponents that they'll be playing in Group B, they will be looking at maximizing all the points over there. So 6 points, they'll look forward to winning all 3 matches that they'll be playing against teams in Group B. That, in addition to the 2 points here, will then take West Indies to 8 points. But for that, they will have to beat all the 3 opponents in Group B, and these 2 points will then, of course, be coming in from the fact that they would have assumingly beaten the Netherlands. So that's how they can make it to 8 points, and perhaps that guarantees them a place in the main event of the Cricket World Cup. Remember, only the top 2 sides after the entire Super Sixes ends are going to make it to the main event of the Cricket World Cup. 8 teams have already qualified. So from the Super Sixes, you're only going to have 2 teams that are going to progress. But remember, the crucial bit is that your points at the group stage, at the end of the group stage, really do matter. So West Indies are short of 2 points than, let's say, Zimbabwe, who have an advantage because they've beaten the West Indies and they'll go into the Super Sixes with 4 points. The West Indies will walk in with just 2 points. They will have to win all 3 matches and then hope that they get a favor, let's say, from Sri Lanka or Scotland, and Zimbabwe will perhaps have to lose at least 1 game so that the West Indies end up being right up top of the Super Sixes. So things not entirely in the hands of the West Indies. That's not to say that they are disqualified, but a disadvantage for them going into the Super Sixes. So they will, as far as West Indies are concerned, going forward, they need to win the 3 games that they're going to be playing in the Super Sixes, and those will be the 3 teams of Group B, and they'll be hoping to maximize on all the points available, and that's going to be 6 points. So at max they can hit 8 points. That should be good enough, let's say, but still it won't guarantee them a place in the main event of the Cricket World Cup. They will need Sri Lanka or Zimbabwe to lose a game here or there so that the West Indies with 8 points can go ahead and progress in the main event. So that's as far as the West Indies qualification scenario is concerned. Things very much on track as far as Zimbabwe and Sri Lanka are concerned, by the way. They are in pole position to see themselves qualify for the Cricket World Cup. And for West Indies to go through, one of these 2 teams will have to drop points now. But Sri Lanka, given the fact that they are much ahead in their particular group and they are they're cruising in on another victory against Ireland, that also ensures that they are going to consolidate their position at the top of Group B. But having said that, West Indies will need a favor or 2 from the other teams that will be finishing, from the other teams in the Super Sixes, in fact, for them to go ahead and make it to the main event of the Cricket World Cup. So the 2-time champions find themselves in a tricky spot and things not entirely in their control. But even then, they would want to maximize on the points available, and they'll have to wait and watch as to where time and fate takes them and whether or not they will be booking their tickets to the Cricket World Cup, which will take place in India. We hope you liked the video. Let us know in the comment section what your prediction is as far as West Indies are concerned. They are in a pickle right now, but do you see them pulling off these 3 crucial wins that they'll be eyeing in Group B? And do you see them taking part at the Cricket World Cup in India? I'd be looking forward to your comments.